Today we have a truly special guest on the show. Faria Ibrahim is a traveling artist and a musician whose creative world spans across painting, music, and performance. She completed her bachelor degree in design studies in architecture at the University of Adelaide in Australia, and later pursued a master in urban planning and design at KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. But beyond academia, Faria's journey has always been deeply rooted into creativity, from her early years as a pianist and songwriter to becoming the first woman in her country to introduce a gothic-operatic metal band. She has consistently broken barriers and followed her passion. Today we'll explore her music journey, her band in Krakow, the importance of music in her life, her creative process, and of course some gear talk about DAWs, keyboards, and MIDI instruments. Faria, welcome to Fortitude and Flow, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Brett.
It's nice to have you here. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So let's just start from the beginning. Can you take us back to your childhood? What was your first real memory with music? What got you inspired to it?
So basically, going back to the childhood, so we're talking in the 80s. Yeah, I'm an 80s kid. So I grew up in a family where music was very much highly encouraged. My father is also a musician by heart and in fact self-taught. And so is my mom. She loves music and she always took part in music sessions. My grandmother especially was a huge lover of both music and art, so she always encouraged this sort of thing in the family right from the beginning, the early age. And also in my culture, from where where I'm originally from, which is in Bangladesh. So it's like music is like part of our everyday life, almost you can say. So I actually first had the opportunity to get into this whole craft the moment when I started to watch my father at a very young age, and we're talking like I'll probably go back like 3 years or 4 years old or something. Probably, even while I may have been inside my mother's womb before she gave birth, something like that. Maybe I was still listening. I was hearing music, my dad singing or something. So he would take the harmonium and he would just sing all the Bengali songs, especially Bengali nostalgic songs. And just by watching him play on the harmonium, I just sort of picked up the patterns. And, and then it just sort of pretty much started all from there. I mean, I started to pick up these sort of basic songs and music initially with my left hand. Normally, you're supposed to, the harmonium is supposed to use the right hand, but I started out with the left completely, like naturally. And then my parents were like, no, I'm not supposed to use the other hand, So I switched. And then I just sort of started to figure out just by hearing like what notes sound like what. So this is like C major, okay, the other one is, G or whatever. But I really didn't have any formal like musical training. I never went to any music school or anything like that. So when my dad saw that I'm capable of sort of picking up all these things, he got me this little like mini keyboard. It was like those Casio like 1980s, vintage, like mini, like little keyboards, like, it was so cute. Like you have this little buttons and some rhythms, and then there was like some tone bank and things like that.
They were so fun. I remember those.
Yeah. And it was like, so cute. Like, sort of, we're talking like sort of barely 30 centimeters or something, like the size of a rule. And, and then, so I just started to pick up like, sort of the Bengali folk songs, but done in a very, fusion style, because I was experimenting that, okay, how can I make the existing songs like, I don't know, a bit different? And because at the same time, what was happening, as much as there was the Bengali traditional music, at the same time, there was also an influence coming in from Western music. And thanks to my dad, he's he was a huge fan of Elvis Presley and Perry Como and all these other people. So that's how sort of Western music got, introduced into my life. And alongside, he's also this big fan of Richard Clayton, and is this French pianist. His piano is so famous worldwide. It's being so well known worldwide, including in places like Southeast Asia, East Asia. Like we're talking Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and all these places. India, Bangladesh. Like if you go to like some of the restaurants, you would definitely hear, you know, like some of his playing. And I think till date, they're probably still playing at like, I don't know, every small little corners or something like that. So, you know, I got inspired with that and I actually started to love it. So I started picking up his stuff on the keyboard. And sort of, you know, and we're talking sort of like this kind of like a new age, kind of like a piano with a bit of classical influence, you know, like ballades for Antonin and stuff like that. So yeah. And so pretty much it's been just like a year, you know, like I just picked it up. And then midway, I think when I was about 6 years old, my grandma was like, she also knows how to sing, because I was also singing as well. I was doing all kinds of, just imitating my dad and, just like hearing stuff from the radio or like I was just singing them out. And then they were like, okay, so probably it would be good if she gets like an Indian classical lesson or like a Bengali folk singing lesson. So they ended up getting me a tutor from the old town of Taga. And my tutor was actually was quite prominent in his field. So his name is Govind Ravidas. So Ustad Govind Ravidas. To make it because Ustad stands for like a guru, like a teacher. So he specialized in devotional songs in Hinduism. So as well as Indian classical. So he would come over and he would teach me, some of the classical music, classical songs, as well as Bengali folk songs. So that's where I had a little bit of Bengali classical vocal training, I would say. So, but then later on, what happened? I don't know. I wanted to just explore beyond the boundary. I got more as I grew older. I got more drawn to Western music, and hear me out. Like, we're talking 80s. So, while this was happening at the same time, I was being drawn to stuff like, I don't know, Madonna, George Michael, and all these artists back then. Aha, it was so big, right? So, I can't just help dance to this music, right? So, I was like, hey, I want to be like these people, like artists when I grow up, right? So that's when all these dreams begin. So I started to, sort of move more towards that direction. And then later on in my teens, during that time we moved to we relocated in several places because my dad, who was in aviation, we first moved to Thailand after I was born in Bangladesh, and we spent a few years there. And after that, back again, and then a few years later, when I was 10 or 11, we moved to the UK in London. So that's where I had my part of my high school education. And then again, we moved back. So it's like back and forth, like sort of been around a little bit. And around my teens, and, so we're talking, the teenhood. This is the time when you're like, a little bit rebellious and things like that. So I really have this inner calling that I really want a band. I'm going to create like the rock band. And funnily enough, in my school at that time, the high school where I was like just sort of finishing up the last years, like there were these school concerts. And some people who happened to be musicians as well, they caught me playing there, and then they called me over, and they were like, and it was like the drummer of my first band, Nemesis, which is actually they're very big in Bangladesh at the moment, like a rock band. So they were like, do you want to join our band, like, as a keyboardist, vocalist? Like, sure, why not? And so that's, I would say.
When was this?
So we're talking like 1999.
All right. Okay.
2000. Yeah, that's the era we're talking about. So it goes back in the days. So and that's pretty much where it all started, and hasn't really stopped ever since. And then later on, then again, it was time to take off. like relocation, another location. But this time I was completely on my own. My parents initially wanted me to go to the United Kingdom, but I was like, uh, I think I'm going to try something different for my higher studies because it's like very, very, traditional, and I don't know, I guess in Indian or Bangladeshi families, like, it's like, yeah, so you reach a certain age and they're like, oh yeah, you need to go to university for higher education. Yeah, you need to be a doctor or lawyer, whatever, right? I mean, I didn't want to study any of those, like even though my class, they really wanted me to be one of those like lawyers or something. Like my grandfather was a lawyer, but a judge
All
actually.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
then they will probably want you to do that.
yeah, there you go. And especially, if you're a girl, in my culture, I'm like, oh man, okay. All right.
Don't pursue music.
Got it right
Obviously.
there. There you go. Or if you would, do it with cautious, right? But then, so, the point is that, I have to, I think, step up a lot, for myself. So I ended up in Australia, at the end, and to study architecture. So this was something I thought that because at the same time, what was happening while I was like pursuing all my musical, like this journey, I used to draw a lot. Like, I used to sort of do a lot of scribbles on the walls and that all these random sketches. Like they just wouldn't make any sense. And sometimes I would even like draw these, I don't know, like landscapes, things like the houses, and then Legos. I was playing with a lot of Legos. So I was really into this sort of creativity, something that was colorful and 3D and something that was very creative. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go for architecture. Maybe that's a compromise between choosing music and 12 degrees. So I went for it. In the process, what happened? I was there for the first time in Australia. So first time completely away from my family, like completely on my own. I was very excited to be there because, Australia is like, it's beautiful. It's like next to all the beaches and things like that. I guess I got inspiration, when I was in Thailand, because, parents used to take me to Pattaya and all these big beaches, and we were living in Bangkok. So, so what happened is that there were all these. I was working hard a lot with my academic, but at the same time there were these moments of loneliness. I have to say. So I would say those were the moments of when I felt like I don't know, sort of. It felt very like I felt very alone, and those were like my dark moments, I have to say. But at the same time, it happened for a reason, I think, because what happened was I realized that, how much I missed, playing and doing music, because I just wasn't getting any chance to do that while I was studying. The place where I was studying, and it was in Adelaide in South Australia, was interesting because there was this nice music vibe and a music community that was there. And at the same time, they have this, this whole like gothic community, and they would just like wear all these black stuff and clothes and stuff like that, rings and with their black makeups and stuff. So I just used to stare at them because, like, for me, it was like, so, first time just seeing like this whole bunch of like people, like looking like zombies or something like that, right? But at the same time, very pretty, like very sort of, I don't know, just different. So I got kind of drawn to them, and I kind of like got exposed to that community. So I started to make friends, or things like that, and started exchanging, stuff like that's sort of, I'd say, when I kind of got into metal music, like a bit more metal, that's the stuff that they were really digging. It was loud, it was ugly at the beginning, just like a lot of, boring and stuff like that. It's like, how do you even listen to this kind of music, right? But then over some time, what happened, for some reason, I was like, this is kind of like interesting, but what if it could be like a little bit like melodic metal or something like that? And that's when I started to, do some digging online. Back in the days, I think we had like Netscape or anything like that. So Just imagine no Facebook, no Instagram, no AI, nothing. We're talking 2000 early. So, uh, so I came across randomly these bands by the name of Within Temptation and Nightwish. And when I heard their voices, like the vocals, like it's like, oh my god, like oh my
Yeah, they
god.
are very good.
I thought I was in, like, I don't know, another world, another dimension. It was so healing. It was so like, the way they were singing and the delivering, along with this, very hard metal music they were playing in the back. It was just like, just going so beautifully. I want to do this stuff. I want to do this stuff, but how do I do it? I don't have anybody around me, like, with the, help me, bring this to life. I mean, I met up with a friend who sort of started to jam a little bit, you know. And then what happened was that I would come back to my home country after every semester. Like, there was like a semester break. So during that break, I would be back home in my city, in my home country in Dhaka. So at that time, there was an underground scene that was growing in Dhaka City. So I was like, maybe I could introduce something like this, local scene, So I was taking advantage of those breaks that I was getting in between studies, and I would come back home, and then I knew some people, and then they all helped me to gather the musicians. So we had 2 guitarists, bassist, and a drummer, and they were all pretty much, they had a metal background. And my sister Farja, by the way, she's also a musician. So just like myself. So I was like, do you want to play the keyboards, for this thing? And I introduced it to her, and she was herself like equally like amazed, like, oh my God, so cool, So yeah, we all gathered together, and we just pulled it off. Our first concert had amazing reaction response. And yeah, then the feeling after that was like, oh my God, it's like you imagine something and sort of bringing this whole imagination to life. It doesn't matter, what it took, but you just made it happen. So yeah, that pretty much, stayed with me, and yeah, it's never stopped ever since. So yeah, it's pretty much I'd say that, it's a bit of my childhood in a nutshell. There's so much more. Yeah, there you go.
That's really nice. I know that you have, in the eastern part of the world, you have more tonalities in the music system. Did you use some of that kind of inspiration and more that kind of vibe and music into your songs
100%,
back then?
100%. I have to say, I mean, we even sort of, we had some songs where we would start off with, like the Indian classical way of singing.
That's really cool.
So stuff like, if I could just demonstrate to you a little bit. Yeah, and then just imagine combining with stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So
it's very different.
There you go.
When you blend the Eastern music vibe and tonality with the Western, you get something totally new.
100%. And I think the idea is that, like to marry both of these sort of, places together. It's like a marriage, honestly. And there are these set of chords that we have, whether you call it, whether in a keyboard or like in the Western classical, you have, like, we all learn it by notes and everything. But I truly believe it's just beyond that. Obviously, it's just beyond that. And, you get to, discover all that, when you're this journey, music, and you're experimenting and all. So yeah, we had the opportunity to do that. So, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's really awesome. I want to hear that music later. But you also, you are both a musician and a painter. And how does these two art forms connect for you?
So basically, I would say I picked up the inspiration from my cousins. So like I'd say 80% of them are like some form an artist or a musician or dancer. So we have like a musician, an artist, and a dancer in the family. So But I did have, some these a couple of cousins who were extremely good with their painting skills and arts. So I would just see them like do, oil paintings and things like that, and just take hours and hours, and then they would just come up with these realistic paintings and all, and these landscapes. And I tried to do that when I was a kid, but I was just like, I just couldn't do it. So what happened, as I was saying that, I didn't used to scribble, I used to do all these abstracts and stuff like that when I was a kid. I mean, it felt good though, when you do all those stuff, when you're just sort of expressing yourself in a piece of paper or canvas, it's kind of freedom that you get, and it's just so healing. But for me, I wanted to, reach that level of, sort of becoming a fine artist. So I actually ended up taking it as part of my curriculum towards the end of my high school. And that's the sort of time when I really started to taking it a little bit more seriously. So I started going to this, taking lessons from this tutors, who happen to be very well-renowned artists, Bangladesh. Seba and Druids. Yeah, that's they go by their name. So they're very prominent artists. They and also graduates of Fine Arts College of Dhaka. So so I took lessons from them, and at the same time, my sister got me this book of fine acrylic, acrylic techniques and things like that. So acrylic painting is what I got into, because it's something that it's a little bit more manageable than oil painting, because you get to sort of come up with stuff or paintings faster than as opposed to oil painting, which takes much longer time to finish, because it needs to dry and then it needs to wait until you apply another layer. So so I had to grade all those, and then I still wasn't making it. I was like, just gonna be patient. I'm just gonna take one little square at a time to make it as fine. And I made it. It just happened. So that whoever saw my painting, my mom was surprised. My parents were like, "Oh my God, how'd you come up with that?" And I'm like,
You basically are very talented when it comes to art and music. Then,
and so and I thought so if I can create this one piece of painting, so I can many others. So that's sort of where it began as well. And eventually, it led me to create a portfolio. And then I got accepted in architecture school, because they needed to see you've got some art flair and things like that. So it all helped. It all helped in the process. And I think both art and music is so interrelated. And the idea is you listen to music and you get inspired. And for me, the way how it works, I listen to music and it just comes out of nowhere. Or even a track on on radio or back in the days, and right now on Spotify or YouTube. It's not so cool. And immediately there's you see a vision right in front of you. I'm like, I want to draw that. I just want to draw that. So it could be anything. So yeah, the arts and music are very good friends. So yeah, there you go.
that's really awesome. It seems to me that you have been so lucky to be inspired by your family, and everyone are gifted with music and some kind of art, and it must have been a huge difference for you to have that compared to people who don't have that.
I mean, honestly speaking, I think there's a gift and talent in every family and every full individuals. I mean, I might it might be there, in music and art, my case, but many others, maybe, I don't know, it's mathematics or something, or I mean, look at, I don't know, look at Stephen Hawking, or, Einstein, for example, right? I mean, or I don't know, Steve Jobs with with this Apple, things like that. I mean, I don't think any of his biological parents, really, inspired him to do that or anything. I mean, I think, I don't know, it's probably many factors. It could be really many factors. I mean, I don't really for me, it was I just love it. I just love my craft. And when you grow up in that environment, and also in an environment when you see there's like a community. I think the community helps a lot. I have to say it's more like about that. I mean, my parents, to be honest, they really wanted me, and that's so vague, I have to say. I hope, dad doesn't, dad doesn't have a go at me hearing it, but, with all due respect, they really wanted me to stick to, sort of Bengali folk music. Okay, at max, dad still wants me to make covers of, like Western country music because he loves that and he wants me to do some versions. He's been poking me about it. But when it comes to, my, the stuff that I really, really, I'm passionate about, which is like my own experimental stuff, things like metal music and gothic-operatic things. I think that sort of was more of a, I would say, a personal journey, and it's sort of like, I explored it, like completely, when I was on my own. When you're on your own, you get to explore yourself. Like, I think it's more about exploring yourself. You can take inspiration from your parents or from the family, or from your community, but I think it's more to do with this self-discovery and self-exploration. So yeah, there you go. I think everyone's gifted. Everyone's got a talent.
Yeah, in their own way and what they like to do.
100%.
I agree. The band in Krakow, you're currently based there, and how is the project you are working on now? How did that come together, and what's unique about the music scene there in that town?
So basically, now that I'm in Krakow, for the time being, until further notice. But so it's been quite a blessing, I have to say, because before coming here, me and my husband, we were based in Malaga, where you're at, so we were there for a good 5 years, and obviously, and then we decided to sort of relocate here in Krakow, and I was a little bit, pushing, like, it's a bit to be, it's not big to the same as back in Malaga, I mean, coming from a place like, or when you're in a region like Andalusia, and you're like surrounded by, aside from the beautiful Spanish nature, Mediterranean vibes, you're exposed to flamenco and all these sort of things, and I was, and I'm still part of this, the little music community there, like wonderful people. Not only that, but also, very good musicians as well, very knowledgeable when it comes to their skills, gifted. So I was enjoying that for some time, and then coming to Krakow was a bit of a switch. But I believe it was, it was meant to happen. Because what happened after coming here, I started to dig, the city, and I was like, you know what, let's just create a music community over here. If I can, I knew that I can, because I felt like, I need to make some new friends. So I started inviting these musicians, and they showed up, and I was like, okay, cool. So like people are willing to, sort of, people are quite friendly here, why not? And in the process, what happened? I saw this band playing live. So they were like this. They're playing 80s music. So so
Goodbye.
and I'm like 80s.
It was very good.
Welcome home. So so yeah, I was like, I told them a little bit, I was like, I love what you're doing, because it's quite rare to see people play, 80s, like, let alone, like we're talking 80s pop these days, George Michael and all that. I mean, you get to see them all around, but you don't really see a dedicated 80s pop group or something like that, right? So, I was really impressed. And then in the process, what happened? They invited me to play with them for some time. So it was so much fun, and I've been playing with them, for the last, ever since, like the last 2 years. And so that happened. And then I was also part of another band. So in the process, somebody else discovered me, and they were like, hey, you want to join our band as well? So I had 2 bands. I was playing in 2 bands simultaneously, doing all cover songs and things like that. The second band was more of a mix, like classic rock and pop. And so that was going on for the last 2 years. And then after that, that midway, I was like, it's nice to do all these covers. It's beautiful. It's fun. Crowd loves it, and all that sort of thing. But something inside from that, you gotta do the things that resonate with you, that truly, are in line with you, and something that's original. Because covers, you can do it anytime. But I think to do something that's original is like another level of satisfaction, to say.
Yeah, you create something from yourself, and when you get in that flow and that creativity, the moment of being in that, it's like God knows where you get the inspiration from, but maybe from the other side or something. I used to call it magic moment, basically, when you are really into it. It's really nice.
I totally agree to that. I totally agree. I mean, it's this sort of universal calling, and I get all these sort of patterns, and I just pick up. And for me, so my process is like, I just sort of come up with this tune, and I just like I have to grab it, And I've been doing that aside from doing all the songs with the other bands. I have been doing it as a side, but now it's a little bit more, focused, like more serious. So right now, currently, I've got my own project that we just started. So I'm working with this Brazilian guitarist, Eduardo, who happened to be the guitarist from one of the cover bands that I was involved with. And it's interesting because he's also traveled around just like myself. He was also in London himself, so he's like an East Londoner. So we were like almost neighbors without knowing each other. So we found out after we moved to Krakow, and then that's where we formed. So it was just meant to be. And then turned out, we had the sort of same taste, similar taste. So right now, the kind of stuff that we're working on is mostly, I would say, progressive experimental rock kind of numbers. We've already written our third song. We haven't published it yet, but we will. So yeah, and so we're doing that. And on the side, the same group, same person, we actually have a sort of full-fledged band. So we're doing some classic rock numbers, progressive rock, classic rock numbers. Just for fun, yeah. So
what's the name of the group?
I haven't officially.
Do you don't have a name yet?
Actually, I do. I do. We just haven't made it official yet, but.
Okay.
But I mean, I kind of informally told my, told my guitarist. So it's going to be called Moi Sirena.
All right. That's nice, huh?
So yeah, there you go. And I think, because
awesome.
I think, yeah, it's thank you. It's well, I do like it. If you like it, that's a
I like it.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So I think the idea is, it's about really also, I mean, when you're writing a song, it's also about storytelling. So we want to use this opportunity to tell the stories of our lives, of all the struggles and everything that we went through in life. So I mean, as well as just sort of bringing like different vibes together. So stuff like, for example, as I mentioned, my guitarist is from Brazil, and I'm from Bangladesh, and then we have this common grounds together. We have a guitarist, sorry, another goodness, bassist, my bassist from Ukraine, and we're now auditioning a drummer. So we have this idea of like bringing our own cultural elements into our music as well. So something perhaps in Brazil, something from Bangladesh, and then maybe something from Ukraine, and just like sort of putting it all together, and just like an experiment. So yeah, so this is what these kind of things that we're probably working on. So
that's really cool. I mean, very international group of people coming together and trying to create some good music. What kind of music will it be? Will it be rock or?
So
pop?
Definitely, I would say it's mostly rock based. That would be the core, but but also I mean, so experimental. I would say experimental, and with a little bit of fusion. I mean, let's like so we're talking, influences and inspirations from Pink Floyd, and
Awesome.
then Rush and Dream Theater and all these bands. But then we also have inspiration from Santana and all this sort of thing. So combination out there.
We have to. I was just also wondering, the music scene in Krakow, is it very, what kind of vibe is there right now? Is it very pop, rock, hip hop, jazz, or is it a little bit of everything?
I would say a bit of everything. I see a lot of jazz bands here, and also a lot of metal. Because in this part of the world, we're talking like Poland, Germany, and all these sort of places, right? Well,
Yeah, they like that.
yeah.
They like that vibe,
Oh
strong
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
raw. Yeah, they do.
Bring it
It's
on.
very true. Same in the
Yeah.
Scandinavian countries.
Scandinavian. There you go. There you go. So, and particularly in Krakow, there's a lot of jazz groups, I have to say. So, there's a good reason for that. They've got very, very good jazz schools, jazz music schools here. I mean, generally music schools on top of that, I think, a lot of people I see and meet and I jam with, they're heading towards jazz. And so that's happening a lot here. And Krakow being very touristic and places like that. So people, come from abroad, they also like to listen to, like other international music. So therefore, you've got a lot of cover bands that's happening over here. So people are not only, like, they're not singing in Polish only, so they're sort of mixing it with English, and even like Spanish and Italian as well. There's a lot of Spanish and Italian Canadians here. I mean, Krakow, in that sense, it's very international. What really makes it different than other big cities like Warsaw, for example, it's very cultural and it's much smaller. So it's sort of like packed, and it's like there's this music scene over here, like almost everybody knows everybody. So once you
Oh,
get to know
that's
one
cool.
musician, so yeah, so it's like we have this community, and there's like music performances on a daily basis. So jamming well, at least 2-3 jammings in a week. So, and it's very easy to get around. So, especially if you live within the city, you don't have to travel far or anything like that to meet other musicians to jam or practice. Like London, for example, is so
Oh,
huge,
that's huge.
to get from one point to another. And whereas over here, it's somewhat manageable. So that's what makes it very, very special.
Is it very is a lot of competition between the musicians there, or are people helping each other out more?
Wow. um, I I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, I think,
Hmm.
like by default, like, if you see somebody who's better than you, like I think it's sort of a worldwide thing, right? Like, oh my God, so I gotta be better at that musician. I mean, it's like this sort of this syndrome that all musicians
The
carry.
ego, the big ego for that every musician have.
Yeah, very, very, very very bad, very bad.
It's
But I
good with
think
competition also, though. It inspire you to be
there you
to
go,
practice
there
and
you go.
become better. So that's good
I mean, you
in
use
a
it
way.
for a good, attention, for a good purpose. Like
Exactly.
you don't do it to, like, I mean, it doesn't actually even work like that. Like, I think sort of, to make yourself, like, the skills better. Like and then, because I think as a musician, everybody is unique. Every single one, every
That's
musician,
true.
they have their own musical, their own unique gem. So it's not it's not really a good thing to sort of compare yourself as a musician, because suppose somebody who's just starting off from here versus somebody who's already up there. I mean, the person who's already up there, he's worked hard during his life to be up there. So, and whereas for somebody who's starting up here, it's just a matter of continuing, and not letting not feeling discouraged by somebody who's say better than you or anything like that. Um, and the other aspect about being helping out, musicians over here. I mean, I have to say, majority of them who I met are just so down to earth and so lovely as humans, and and the most of all has been very helpful. So so when you're there, you're jamming with them, and they're not really sort of like judging you or anything like that. they just like welcome you, come in, like, you want to play an instrument or something, yeah, welcome, welcome, and then we just,
That's really awesome.
it's
How it
beautiful.
should
That's
be.
yeah, there you go. Absolutely, that's how it should be. So yeah.
We have to talk about again. You recognized as the first woman to bring gothic-operatic metal to your country. That's a huge milestone. What challenges and breakthroughs did you face along the way?
Right. So so the metal scene, and I think it's like not only in my home country, I'd say all over the world, has been dominantly, and undeniably male oriented. So that was quite a bit of a challenge, especially in my home country, because at least in the Western world, like we're talking like US or Scandinavia or Europe, I think there's women, as a woman, you have more freedom, and to be who you are. Whereas in my country, now it's different, but back in the days, it wasn't very common for, a girl to go up front among like, these bunch of, long-haired, male, bearded musicians playing on the
Probably not.
guitars. And to just like, go up there and just like bang your head and just sort of wailing out, just like doing all the operatic, with the metal music. It was not a thing. It was definitely not a thing. Crowd especially were like, not, like there's been some people like, they would overlook, it's like, oh yeah, this girl, what she going to do? Right. That's a thing. But after we did our show, our first song, I mean, I think they were they were quite impressed. So I myself was like, I think I wasn't really, and the thing is, I wasn't really worried about that, I was just more focused on this lot of, I was so excited to, like to do all those things out there, like the kind of Nightwish and bit of Temptation covers. So, yay, I just can't wait. Both me and my sister, like the world stage. And so we were more excited than just being worried about all these, male, the crowd who was there. I mean, there were some females, and I mean, it's like, oh, we want more female in the crowd, So I think, that was also one of my visions as well, like bring in more, women into the scene, because, because I believe there's just, there's a lot of talented people in my country, in Bangladesh, musicians, not just male, both female. So I really wanted to see that happen. And so there was like, slight worry, but when we, when we first walked up on stage, we had a lot of, we had some friends, thankfully, we had a lot of, supportive friends who were also there. They were giving us a lot of support. So, and I think that support helped a lot. So that kind of like snowballed in the rest of the crowd, and that kind of like, like, oh, whoa, okay, that's not bad, like, so, yeah, that, so I think, this feeling of doing something different and just breaking the pattern, breaking the regular pattern, it's, something, when you achieve that, you feel like you're contributing, to community in a positive way, and you're changing somebody's life out there. And so till date, I think there's a lot more and more female musicians out there ever since then. So yeah. So there was even like moments in some concerts when we were performing in one of the concerts, like some of the people in the crowd, they were just, they were really nice, but then there was like this other group of crowd, like, so disrespectful, they were they were more interested in throwing, they were carrying like the plastic bottles, the empty plastic bottles, and they wanted to throw that, with us, I mean,
Wow.
it ended up at landing another band, and there was like another band, like, somebody like plastic bottle, but they wanted to do the same with ours. But that didn't stop us. We were like, no, we're not stopping, and nobody's going to stop us. So we did our thing. It was like one group of crowd going boo, whatever, and we were like, it's a risk of like, you guys are so doing it on purpose. And there was like this other bunch of crowd. I'm like, wow, cheering and all that sort of thing, you know. So there you go. Yeah, so all those challenges, you know, and but we still, you know, we made it in the end.
That's really awesome. I mean, it's very inspiring to just hear about that, you know, bringing, I think that's probably the power of music. You're inspiring people through music and changing the music scene and the way of just the mind state of thinking that both male and female can actually do these genres and also be involved in music
100%.
is art. So it should be something that everyone is allowed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really believe that. Yeah, and that's the importance of power and the music. So I was thinking, what does music mean to you personally beyond stage, and what does it really mean to you?
Life. Like, just
Very
life
good
in total.
answer. Very good answer.
Yeah, and like I wake up, you know, eating music for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and yeah, you see, like, you know, I can say nothing. So,
Very good answer. Do you see music as a healing or a transformative force?
absolutely,
Kind of a way.
absolutely, and I think, you know, and also language its own as well. You know, if you don't speak, you know, a certain language, you know, even if you don't speak English or Spanish or Polish or whatever, right? You know, if you're a musician, you are still able to communicate with a musician without having to even communicate. So, and that's the beauty of it. And as for the healing aspect, absolutely. I think we all go through struggles in life. And as I was mentioning earlier on, music is a form of storytelling, you know, through tunes, through sound, and through melody, and through words. Many people can resonate with it in their own ways, in different ways, and they can relate. It's something that they can relate to in their life, and that can actually empower them. So the music can, you know, power each and every one of us. And these days, in fact, it's, you know, life for everything, but especially these days, the world, it's such a crazy world we're living in right now. And music is almost, it's like the way how it's done these days. It's just, you know, there's like, you know, almost like a musician, you find it, you know, in every third person is a musician, and in every corner. There's such a saturated sort of world out there. But that shouldn't stop us. That should not stop anybody from pursuing, you know, music, or taking a break and stopping to listen to music and actually enjoy it, because it's such a healing journey, and it's just one of those magic things, you know. And spiritually, you know, I think it's linked to nature. It's linked to nature and the universe. You know, I think just sort of when you switch off from everything in life and you just sort of listen to music that you really enjoy, when you're walking by yourself in the park, or, you know, you're taking the tram or the train, or, you know, I think it rewires your brain and the way you think, you know, and your function better. You know, even say problems in life you're thinking about, you can just like stop. Okay, I'm going to come back to it a bit. I'm going to enjoy this. Just like put on your headphones, like, you know, lay back, and just like, you know.
I totally agree.
And then, yeah, there you go.
Have you experienced moments where your music deeply connected with or impacted or inspired someone?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. On many occasions, like, I don't know, like last thing I recall was like the other day when I was like on the stage, I was jamming with some people, and there was this girl in the audience, like I think she was there with her parents or something like that, here in Krakow in one of the bars, and she saw me singing, and then it's like, you know, wow, just, you know, I love it. I love what you're doing. So I decided to, you know, so I asked her, what's your name? You know, and then she told me like, she told me her name. And then what I did after that, like on the spot, I came up with a song, her name.
That's really cool. Wow. Okay.
And she was like so excited. She started to dance and everything. So, you know.
That's really awesome.
So there you go. And then a couple of days ago, we had a meet up, and I have a friend who's a poet, and he wanted me to sort of come up with a theme music based on his poem, like on the spot. And his lyrics were just something somewhere around, I don't know, like something you would find in novels of like Stephen King or something like that. It's like very horror and dark oriented or something like that. Like, it was like making a music like about these three girls, sort of heading towards this place, and then something like horrible happens or something like that. It was like a very horror, scary type of poem. And I was there with the piano, and I'm like, okay, give me a minute, And then he puts, this song from, I think it was Hellraiser or something like that, right? And then and I just heard like a few seconds. And I'm like, okay, all right, give me a second. And then I just took 1 minute, just switching off, and then I began, all right, let's go. And then he started to recite the poems, and I started to play. And just this unity. And my friend was just like, he was like, wow, so impressed. And so that was a nice moment in the recent times. There's been plenty of plenty others like that. I mean, even when I did the covers in my own style, for example, during pandemic, for example, like I had a relative who was who had COVID, elsewhere, and that's so I dedicated a piano piece, like a cover of Richard Clayton online. And I just like uploaded, and I asked everybody to pray for him, things like that. And the next day I realized it's been shared by over like different places. I'm like, oh, okay. And then some people like had even like sent me messages that made me very emotional. It reminded me, back in the times when I used to listen, when my dad used to listen, would put on Richard Clayton and things like that, brought me to tears. Okay. So, small little things, they make you feel not only good, but also make you realize that you're making somebody's day. With your music and the things that you play. So there you go.
That's really nice and a very powerful thing to be able to create someone's bad day better through your music.
Power of music. There you go.
Yeah, it really is. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about DAW keyboards and MIDI. And DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, for people who doesn't know that. Yes, it's basically a program that you use so you can record your music. And you know a lot about this stuff. So what would you recommend for beginners to start with?
Okay, so there's so many like DAWs that are out there, right? I mean, I primarily use Logic X. I did use other stuff in the past, stuff like Sonar, and then there was Reason, things like that. Those like they go way back in the days. I think I remember like trying out Pro Tools, but that was like way back in the days. Today what's happening? So Logic X is a good place to start. In fact, I picked it up during the time I briefly took this small course at the SAE Sound and Audio Engineering School, learning electronic music production briefly when I was in Stockholm in Sweden. That's during the time when I was doing my master's there. It was actually taught by the songwriter from Eurovision, Sweden. So the guy basically who won half this Swedish songs. So there was like songwriter who was giving joy that wonderful person and great composer. So and ever since then I've been using the software. Good thing about Logic is just like in terms of like user friendliness, it's very simple. Like just sort of there's this feature of drag and drop, and that depending on the kind of instruments that you're using, like you can pretty much record anything starting from your vocals to instruments to your MIDI. If you're a MIDI keyboard user or MIDI synth user, it's very, very easy to create tracks over there. And also nowadays, interestingly, they've got AI features as well. So for example, you can quickly do your mastering and things like that using like an AI feature that's there. Recommended though, it'll be it's good to have some sort of like a tutorial plenty of tutorials out there, free tutorials out there on YouTube. So that's what I recommend. And to be honest, like, I mean, I'm always sort of learning and progressing along the way, right? I mean, I wouldn't say, it's like, yeah, it's not about learning that from A to Z, because you say sort of like learning as you go. So idea is to just, go through like a basic tutorial and then just, begin using it and then just learning as you go, because there are always Q&As that you can get answered, from Google or YouTube for AI, and can totally shorts, like YouTube Shorts, for example. If you got a query, you just put it up and then like, okay, how do I, there's a good thing about Logic is like, you have a lot of plugins and things like that. I mean, pretty much like every other DAW that's out there. But here, I mean, like, you can always sort of look up on how to use certain DAWs. I mean, if you want to compress your vocals, for example, you've got like a lot of these sort of pre-made setups that's already there, like depending on what you're recording. I think it's pretty much like sums up for every other DAW I'm guessing that's out there. I mean, Ableton, including, we're talking pretty much the same story. The only difference is the recording thing. You just got to make sure that the quality of your recording it has to be good. I mean, there's no compromise.
It has to be good.
No compromise about that. I mean, if it's the vocals or something like that, you need to make sure that, you have this, depending on what you're recording, the distance is very important, a lot of that, things like that, if you're adding a lot of that, move away from the mic, and if it's like operatic or something, at least recommended 3 meters away from the mic. Like, I mean, last night, the last couple of days, I was putting like that, as I was saying earlier, and he was doing some old country music, like country singing. And at one point, he started to, his voice was so deep and he was very near to the microphone that almost started to crack. So I was like, okay, we got to do this again. So these are the things that's to watch out for. And it need be take several like retakes. It need be, I mean, until you feel that, okay, this is it. That's a good take that I've done. The DAWs, that's a good thing about DAWs, is that they give you opportunity to retake, re-record your things as many times as you want. And if need be, you can even keep the stuff that's good stuff. Don't delete them, just keep some of the good stuff. And then if you feel like, oh, it could be better, then you add a new one. But then what you can do is like pair between two, and then you figure out like, okay, I like this one, and then you can always get rid of the rest and just keep the best one. So recording is number 1 thing. Guitars, same thing. Use the right kind of microphone. For instruments, like for vocals, I recommend one that I'm using, like Shure 75B, I think. Yeah. So,
yeah,
sorry,
that's a very good one.
SM7B. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. I mean, this is mostly for podcasters, I would say. Like, but then at the same time, you can get away with vocals. But even better, I recommend the result of that's the microphones that's out there. So Neumann and stuff like that is like top notch.
No, that's top notch.
That's top notch. But if you're like on a budget, there's plenty of good stuff that's out there as well. So like Audio Technica and stuff like that. So yeah, and even that's within the budget. But yeah, these small little things, they can go a long way. So they make a big difference. And drums as well. Same if you're recording drums. Always better to make sure, depending on what you're doing, if it's electronic drums, okay, that's easier, because you're just using MIDI keyboard, like all digitally produced electronic. You don't have to worry much about it because you can always re-edit it and stuff like that. But if you're doing an acoustic drums, always better recommended that acoustic in your rooms is really good. And better always to like hire a small studio for drums, and because they've got all the setups, and just do the takes there, and then later on you can come back home and you can edit. Here you go. Well.
I think that the Logic is also a very good way to start because it's not that expensive.
No.
It's around $250 or something, and then you have it. The then you paid it and you have it for your whole life.
Absolutely.
So it's not like a subscription kind of a thing. You have it.
There you go.
And it's very intuitive too. And I think what you said earlier is very, it makes a difference to do a course on it, because it can be very overwhelming the first time you open the program. And there's so many things there. But when you learn them and you get a good workflow on it, you can work so much faster.
There you go. Totally recommend. Recommend I do that and learn. And the rest is just sort of learning as you go. Every song is going to be different. Every song is going to sound different. The sound engineering is going to be different. So I think it's a matter of, but that's how you gain experience, and it's the only way to gain experience. Parallel listening is very important. Is it also a good idea? I must add to this. Also a good idea to have a slight knowledge of sound engineering and audio engineering. Plenty of good stuff, good tutorials that's out there regarding that, because I think the idea is to learning to listen, like to listen to music. Because it's very easy to sort of put up the volume and put up the gain, and then when you actually put it out there in different speakers and audio interfaces, and then you realize that, oops, it's too loud and it's cracking and stuff like that. So I would say it's also good to have, like that kind of like a production knowledge a little bit. Yeah.
I totally agree. Do you have any favorite keyboard or synths that feels like your musical soulmate?
Oh.
You do. What do you recommend there?
What's your favorite wine?
Oh, that's a lot actually for me though, but I understand what you mean.
I hear you. I'm a big fan of Kurzweil, so I've got one on me, and it's just one of those finest digital synthesizers I think ever built in this lifetime. And so it's actually there's a story behind it. Like originally it was invented by Ray Kurzweil, an American scientist, and he collaborated with Stevie Wonder, and they actually organized and selected the kind of sounds that needs to be there. Like, and then we're talking including like different types of organs and things like that, and the reed organs and piano and all the synth and pads, guitar, everything that's there. So the one that I have is it's the latest version of Kurzweil, but I have to I'm so it's a K2700, exactly, that's the name of the model. So it's got over 4,000 sound bands.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like my child.
Awesome.
Basically.
Yeah.
I can't say spouse because I'm already married to you.
It's the second one at least. Say it so.
So but aside from Kurzweil, I generally like Yamaha. Yamaha is very good. You have different types that's already out there. It's like the digital piano, there's a regular keyboard, the synthesizer. The digital piano also works very well. And if you're just sort of focusing on, like learning the piano or something like that, good thing about all of them is like, you can, they all come with like USB port, or like, and also like an internal sort of like a recording system, like especially with Kurzweil, and also some models of Yamaha. So you can, it's easy for you to create music digitally using these keyboards. So depending, aside from that, if you plan to record all the sounds in a raw format without going on the digital or MIDI, it's a good idea to use a sound card. So in my case, I'm currently using a Steinberg. There's also Focusrite that does a good job as well. So so that's when you sort of connect your keyboard or your synthesizer directly to the sound card, so that you can take the raw sounds of, say, piano or synth or pad that you're using, or strings for that matter, directly from the keyboard and into your system. So Logic, for example.
Yeah, that's actually a very important thing to have, a good sound card. It makes everything easier.
Absolutely.
And it's basically you need to transfer the sound into the program, and that's definitely the best way.
Yes, there you go.
How do you balance digital production with keeping music organic and emotional?
I think, I don't. I mean, if I can understand your question, like, you mean like, we're talking like a sort of,
Do you basically like to go into a studio and do everything there with the whole band, or do you prefer to work digitally in the software? Basically, is the question. And how do
okay,
you mix the vibe, because it's different, the digital compared to being basically in the studio
yeah,
and having people who is playing and not that much programming the music in a way. You
right,
understand the question?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I do. I do it. Okay, so actually, digital and all these sort of mediums, I would say they're only tools. Whether you're working in the studio or not. For me personally, I don't use anything. I mean, I don't use any of this like programming in studio when I'm writing a song, for example. Like what I would normally do, a song inspiration can come anywhere, anytime. Whether you're traveling or I'm with my husband, we're riding on a motorbike or something like that in Lampedusa, or like some next to Zakopane in Krakow, near Krakow. Just like would come out of nowhere. And the way I would do it is either I would record like I would just hum it out of like my phone or something like that, or I would just write out like the inspirations. And then after that, I don't normally, I mean, I don't really have to go to a studio unless I must. But normally I just do it at home. So I just got a laptop at my door, and I just like put out all the inspirations right away, using a MIDI or a keyboard. I mean, the idea is it doesn't really matter how you do it. I mean, as long as it's in there. So, however, with me and my guitarist, we actually, prefer to, spend time writing, like say developing and working on a song at a studio. The reason for that is that you get to switch off from everything else and just focus on your craft. Whereas maybe at home, I don't know, or somewhere you have distractions. So that's sometimes, like difficult to manage. I think the idea is, to really stay focused and stay on your craft without letting anything hamper your process or anything. If it's at home, like no, you have your family or something, or you're like cafe, and that or you're just picking up your phone, or you're browsing your phone or something, because you must get it done. So I think that's why the focus, the right kind of inspiration, is very important that time. So it doesn't really matter whether you're at home, you have your home studio set up, at your laptop as well. I'm doing that mostly, to be honest. At home, just writing this stuff, and at a studio, I'm just like working with my band. So yeah, unless it comes to, let's say, you like, I don't know, like I know somebody to play the drums or the instruments or guitar. That's sort of the time when, hey, let's go to a studio and let's just sort of do it all together. But if you have the right setup at your home, take advantage of it. Like, bring guitars. Like, yeah, let's just do our takes here. So, and that's the great thing about, all these digital things. Like, can pretty much, travel with you. So yeah.
It's so much easier to create music today, and
oh yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
need to be in a professional studio, but it's good to be there because you get different kind of inspired, and you are in the workflow or more there.
That's the thing.
And,
I mean, I recommend, like, I think the idea is to, have just like a space, a personal space for yourself, where you allow yourself to get, inspired and, and sort of like, I don't know, I normally like to, like, I have plans and things like that, right? And, some artwork or something that, like artwork of a musician that inspires you or something like that. And at the studio, it's even easier because guess what? Once you're inside the studio, you're stuck for the next 2 hours, 3 hours.
Exactly. You are
no
stuck there.
Back, so.
And that's actually a good thing.
You're bound to make music.
Yeah. You gotta get to work. That's true. What would you recommend for someone who is, for example, a kid who wants to start with music and really go for following that type of a dream? What would you recommend?
Just go for it. I mean, I tell you, The world is good. It's crazy. I mean, as I mentioned before, you know, but if you feel it deep inside, if there's a calling that you have deep inside, you must never neglect it, and you must not abandon it. By abandoning it, you are abandoning yourself. So you must never do that. There will be people, I mean, if you have, very supportive parents, like, fortunately, I mean, I did. Sometimes you won't have supportive people that's around you. They won't support you with your craft or your dreams. So therefore, it's very important to believe in yourself, and believe in your craft, and just switch off from the naysayers. Because there will always be people, who will say that, music is so hard. Oh, you're too, young to do music. Oh, I'm too old to do music. Oh, I'm married, and I should be in the kitchen, not doing music, stuff like that. Oh, I'm a woman. So, all these sort of, pardon my
Basically,
French, but sugar-coated, things that people will, bring out, from their own, because they have things but you can't blame them. Like, you can't just sort of go back and like, how dare you say all these things? Because the thing is, not everybody will share your dream, and they haven't been there themselves. So they won't understand, like the feeling that you have, the intuition that you have, that it's your craft, it's your passion, it's your life, and this is what makes you feel happy. So you must never, ever compromise that. And you must do everything, to make that dream come true. There will be people who are saying, oh, but playing music, doesn't pay your bills, there's not much money in music, and I think you can turn this thing around and you can say, okay, but how can I make money, by music? What are the ways I can do? Maybe I can like some sort of a strategy. Maybe I can, make use of promoting myself on content, social media with my music or something like that. And then sooner or later, somebody will see me, somebody will see my gift, then collaborate, and that's where the game can start. I mean, honestly, look at people like Billie Eilish and all these people, right? I mean, they started in their bedrooms, and look where they are right now. So, and right now, you have access to the entire world. It's not like back in the days, like you have friends and family here, the whole world is listening to your music. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you have a tune that resonates with you, put it out there. But you can't just sit, if you really want to make it up, but, make it that big, like, or say, go somewhere with it. You still got to put in the work of putting it out there. So you can't just sit in your bedroom, because then it will just stay, and then it will grow mushrooms.
You can do that too, actually. And when you use it, we'll definitely get something very magical from it. I can tell you that.
Hey,
I don't know it though, but
what did I think about that? Should not have studied architecture, no.
You can try the mushroom thing too, though.
Oh, that's
very
interesting.
healing.
Yeah, why not? Apparently, mushrooms are communicating these days. Not these days, sorry. Apparently, mushrooms know how to communicate. So that's what my
With each other, yeah, they do.
And
They are very. It helps. It's used a lot now for treatment in depression and psychological issues.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
And
sure
it works.
they also appreciate music too. So
They do. They are very. Something magical about it.
They're
Makes you open up more.
I mean, plants for sure are doing that. I know that my plants, are like there's a forest, in front of my.
You're playing music with them often, I hope.
There you go. There you go.
What is your dreams forward now?
To release our albums, and starting with our singles. That we'll eventually start touring around Europe, starting from Poland, hopefully the world. Just taking music wherever we go, and just but to begin with, just finishing what we're doing with our tracks, and just taking it up there. And I think that's what I can think of. Yeah, and I think to really inspire as many people as possible, and to be able to collaborate with musicians from around the world. We're talking different continents and things like that. So I think that's the little dream that I have.
That's really a really good dream. I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you. That's really thanks a lot.
Yes, and fortitude means strength. What kind of state of mind, mental qualities, techniques have you used most through your music career?
Ooh. Okay. So I have to say it's overcoming a lot of struggles and challenges. Personally, with your career, with sort of everyday life challenges. And I think, every struggle, is like a stepping stone. It makes you stronger and stronger and stronger. At some points, I have to say, that I almost, even, stepped away from music because, like life just got so busy, with the, and with just like you got a family and then you got studies or this, that, your work, whatever. I'm like, okay, what? And there's no support, we have no support coming in from anybody, within, at certain points, like to support your vision. Like, you know what? Well, maybe I'm just going to, stop to it. It just doesn't work because deep inside, if it's there, it just comes back to you. And it just kept coming back to you until it just never left me. So this is like a calling. And so I have to say, you need to go through the struggle to realize, to understand, that if this is something that, is for you, if it's meant for you. And those struggles, of struggling moments, dark moments, make you realize how much you love it. And they also make you stronger in the process. So you become sort of like an advocate, for your own craft. And I think community helps, especially community is so, so important, with art, with music, everything. I think it's a good idea, on a regular basis to connect, to collaborate with these, for example, music communities. That way you see others, and then you become inspired, and then you share your ideas, you exchange ideas, and then you end up getting used. Because sometimes, when you're on your own, it's probably not like, okay, you're thinking about something, but then you see some other examples and like, hey, I haven't thought about that. Yeah. And then, so, these are some of the ways how you can make yourself, confident about your craft. Yeah, just listen to a lot of music, listen to other music, both good music and bad music, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. And, I mean, and also in the morning when you wake up, the first thing I do, I just put on something, really nice and inspiring, or so the music I shazammed the other day from somewhere, I save it in my playlist, and then it's first thing, hey, what's that music? I'll listen to it again. And you put it up, and then you go and make your breakfast, and you have your coffee, and then and for me, coffee is a wonderful thing. I always get ideas, after a big cup of coffee. Then sort of, hey, I can do these sort of things, and then sort of gather your ideas, and so all these things combined together. You also got to make sure it's at the same time, you take care of yourself. And we're talking about, eating well, sleeping well. Sleep is so important. There will be times, you end up spending, I end up doing that sometimes. I over engineer my songs sometimes. So when it comes to mixing and producing, and the next thing you realize, it's 3 a.m. Oops.
Oh yes, it time fly by when you are into music.
Yeah. But it's like the moments when you're just zoned in. I think that's another magical moment. And I was like, and that's a great thing. But at the same time, you've also got to, make sure that, okay, sleep would be nice. So
you need that too.
There you go. So, we're talking about balance. So yeah, there you go.
Very good answer. Where can we find your music and upcoming shows and events?
So you can always subscribe to my YouTube channel. So this is Faria Music. So Faria spelled like Farja Music. Faria Music. So there's a channel on YouTube and also on my Instagram as well. It's faria.official. So that's my Instagram page, and also there's a Facebook page as well with Faria. And I also have a SoundCloud as well. So if you go to Faria and SoundCloud, you also find that. At Spotify, it's still growing, but I do have a channel, and I have in fact a single up there already, which I created some time ago. So you can find me there. Soon I'll be setting up TikTok. So you will know it when you subscribe to my Instagram. So there you go.
All those links will be down in the show notes. Yes. Thank you for sharing your story, and very inspiring talking to you.
It's my pleasure, Frederick.
So,
thanks for having me over. Likewise.
It was really nice to have you here on Fortitude and Flow, the podcast.
Thank you
so
so
thank
much.
you.